Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to do a quick highlight and contour video for you. But before I get started, I just wanted to say thank you so much to Emily for being so patient. Emily requested this video, I think about a month ago, and I have filmed it several times. I wasn't happy with any of them, so I'm trying it again. So Emily, thank you so much for being patient. Okay, so why do we do it? Why do we highlight? Why do we contour? Well, contouring. We contour to create shadows on our face, to give the impression of higher cheekbones, a more defined jawline, a thinner nose, a larger lower lip, and highlighting. Anywhere that you highlight on your face, you're going to bring attention to, or you're going to bring that part of your face forward. So if you're trying to create the look of higher cheekbones, you contour to create a shadow, and then you highlight on top to bring that area forward. So it makes it look like your cheekbones are higher than they really are. Now, when it comes to contour, I feel like people should ask themselves, should I? Before you actually do it. Nowadays, there are tons of videos on YouTube and Instagram showing you contour, but people don't actually stop to think about whether or not they should. Now, nose contour, for example, that is not for everyone. Nose contouring is meant to narrow a nose. So if you have a wide bridge, if you have a crooked nose. So if you have a crooked nose, you can actually go in and contour to make it look like your nose is straighter. If the bridge of your nose is wide, you can contour to make it look thinner. Now I've seen people contour their nose and they already have a really thin, narrow nose. So what do you think is going to happen if you contour your nose? You're going to make it look even longer. I've seen people contour their nose when it's completely unnecessary and they make it look like something that you could ski off of. I mean, so nose contour is not for everybody. So I feel like when it comes to that topic, just ask yourself, do I really need to? For example, on my face, my temples kind of dip in. What do you think is going to happen if I contour right here? I'm going to make that area look even more sunken in, and that's not what I want. So when I contour, which is very rare, I avoid this area here because I don't want it to look even more sunken in. For highlighting, I feel like people should ask themselves the same question. Do I need to highlight there? I personally think that highlighting the tip of your nose, it looks ridiculous. I don't want to walk around looking like the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. I see people load up the tip of their nose with highlight, and I personally think it looks, kind of ridiculous. I don't know. I mean, I suppose if you put just a tad bit there, you know, whatever. But my personal opinion is that it looks kind of ridiculous. So, but highlighting and contouring, they do complement one another if it's done correctly. So just a little advice, ask yourself, should I, before you do it. Also, if you're not sure where to contour, where to highlight, there are literally tons of sort of picture tutorials that will walk you through where to contour your face according to your face shape. But again, always ask yourself, do I need to? Alright, so you want to contour, you have no idea where to start, you have no idea where your cheekbone is. How do you find it? So I'm going to tell you 3 ways to find your cheekbone. You can use this part of your hand here, you can roll it up your face until you find your cheekbone. When you find it, that's where you want to place your contour, right underneath your cheekbone, right here. If you're still having trouble and you absolutely can't find it, you can use a brush. So press into your face, roll it up until it stops. Right there is where you want to place your contour. If you're still having trouble and you just can't get it, suck in your cheeks and follow the line. Alright, so I am going to start with a cream contour. I feel like everyone can benefit from a cream if you have the time. If your skin is drier, if you have more mature skin, or if you have the same problem that I do and that Emily does, is that there's certain areas on your face where color just does not like to stick. If you start with a cream and layer a powder over the top, you can lessen the look of that patchiness. So I'm going to start with a cream. Another thing I wanted to say too is I'm not really going to talk about brushes or products today. What I will say is I personally prefer a more cool ashy contour as opposed to a warmer contour color. I feel like warmer is better if you just want to do a sort of an overall bronze. If you're trying to contour and create shadows, you want to go for something a little more on the cool side. If you already have high cheekbones, you really want to avoid contouring underneath your cheekbone, because if you have a thin face and you have high cheekbones, if you contour underneath too much, you're going to make yourself look skeletal. I personally don't want to look like a skeleton. So what I do is I place my contour right here, actually on my cheekbone directly. Normally, you would place your contour right underneath your cheekbone. I like to start light and build up. I don't like to start with too much product. It's really easy to lose control. When you apply your contour, press in, because what can end up happening is you can either overblend or you can make the area look muddy. And I also go into my hairline as well. Also, another thing I wanted to say too is I am doing more of a natural highlight and contour today. I'm not going to do anything crazy or over the top. Another thing, when you're blending in your contour, you want to make sure that you're blending up and not down. If you blend down, you're defeating the purpose of the contour. So here's an example of what happens to Emily and myself. I have these two little areas, one here and one right here, where the color just, it doesn't want to stick. It doesn't like to stick. So what I recommend in those areas is taking a smaller brush with a little bit of your contour color and just sort of patting it in right over the top where the color doesn't like to stick. And then take your brush or your sponge and go right over the top of those areas so that it blends in nicely and evenly. Okay, one more thing about contour before I forget. If you're not sure how far in to take your contour and you want to stick to a more natural look, this is what I suggest. Find the tail end of your eyebrow and hold a pencil or a brush like so. You don't want to take your contour past this point, so you want it to go from here back. That'll look a little bit more on the natural side. If you kind of overdid it with the cream contour, you can take a clean brush or your foundation brush and then just go in and lightly blend it. You don't want to go overboard with it and blend it completely away, but you can blend it to the point where it's not so severe. Alright, and then I'm going to go right along my forehead here. Don't be afraid to get it right into your hairline. Another good rule to kind of remember is the number 3 when you're contouring. Start here, come around to just underneath your cheekbone, and then around the jawline. Now again, when you're contouring, ask yourself, do you need to? I do not need to contour my jaw. I already have a natural shadow here and a defined jawline, so typically I do not contour here. I will add bronzer kind of like at the end just to bronze the area up, but typically I do not contour. But if you need to, what you want to do is place the contour color just underneath your jaw. So right in this area here. If you kind of look at my neck and my jawline, you can see I have this natural shadow right here. It's just something that you want to keep in mind so that you don't overdo it. And then what I suggest is once you have your contour color placed, you want to make sure that there aren't any harsh lines right in this area. So right at that edge there, you want to gently blend it so that it gradually fades down your neck. To create the look of a larger bottom lip, you can add just a little bit of contour just underneath the center and then just kind of pull it down. It makes your bottom lip look a little bit bigger. Okay, nose contouring. I never contour my nose. I actually really hate trying to contour my nose. Alright, so how do we do it? So there's 2 ways that you can contour your nose. You can start at your eyebrow here and kind of follow it down, or you can just start from here and carry it down to the tip of your nose. Now, I already have a natural shadow right here, so I don't really feel like I need to do that. If you don't have a natural shadow there and you want it to look a little bit more natural, you can always go ahead and start right in here and just apply the contour straight down your nose. I personally have a difficult time trying to contour my nose. I don't practice with it because I don't like it. What I'm going to do is this, I actually really like this brush for nose contour. I played with it a couple times. It's the Sigma 3D HD Precision brush. This is what it looks like. It's a great brush if you're trying to contour. Okay, I'm going to start right here and I'm just going to press the color in at first. Now my nose is kind of rounded at the tip, so if I want to make my nose look less round, I'm going to take this contour a little bit higher on the bridge of my nose. See, so I'm making it look really thin here. And then I'm going to go in and pull that color down. It's amazing to me how people are so obsessed with the shape of their nose. One thing I want to know is who said having a long, narrow nose is where it's at? Who came up with that? I don't have a long, narrow nose. My nose is round at the tip and it widens out when I smile. But it's like, I said that a lot in this video so far, haven't I? I feel like for new people and young people, they see everyone contouring their nose and trying to make it look so thin and less wide. It's gonna give people a complex. Young girls who are impressionable, maybe their moms aren't like on top of it with them as far as like, anyway, that is a whole nother video. All I'm saying is that it's okay if your nose is not long and narrow. Most of us don't have a long, narrow nose. So if you don't have that, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. So I'm going to take my sponge here and I'm just going to kind of bounce it on the bridge of my nose. Alright, then I'm going to take a clean brush and I'm just going to gently pull down here. Now for highlighting. I am not going to do the whole triangle underneath the eyes and drawing all over my face. It's not my cup of tea. I realize a lot of people do that, but I personally don't feel that it's necessary to go that crazy over the top with highlighting. Typically, when you add your foundation and you go in and put your concealer on, your concealer usually is maybe 1.5 shades lighter than your foundation. Why? To add a little bit of brightness. So I personally don't feel that you need to go in and add more unless you've chosen a concealer that is the same color as your foundation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and add just a little bit here and right here. I just place that right into those little shadows that I have, because my eyes are starting to become, or my under eye area is just becoming a little puffy right there. So I'm adding a little bit of a brighter color to get rid of the look of that little sort of divot that I have right there. Alright, and then for the top of my cheeks, I'm just going to use a cream highlight. I'm just going to bounce that back and forth. For those of you with dry skin or more mature skin, you might want to consider using a cream. Creams just meld better with your skin. They look more natural than a powder. Alright, and then for the nose. I will not take this highlight all the way down to the tip of my nose. I just refuse. So what I'm going to do is add just a little bit here. And I'm going to stop just before the tip of my nose. You can do your upper lip. I hardly ever do this area here. I personally don't like highlighting my Cupid's bow either. Alright, so if you want to add a little bit of brightness down the center of your face, you can do that too. I'm just going to use my sponge here to kind of move that around. And then for the chin, you can highlight your chin if you don't have much of a chin or it's kind of set back. If you highlight it, it'll pull it forward. So you can add a little bit of highlight. I don't usually highlight my chin either. Alright, so just remember when highlighting, you can highlight anywhere on your face that you want to draw attention to. So if there's certain places on your face that you don't want attention drawn, skip the highlight. Alright, so here is our cream contour and highlight. I really like cream. I like cream a lot. Alright, so I'm going to set my under eye area. Another thing that I don't do that a lot of people do is go in with 4 tons of powder. I just use this little puff here. I press the powder in, and then whatever is left over, and there usually isn't a lot left just sort of hanging out on my skin, but if there is, I just go in with a little brush and I brush it away. So you can use a brightening powder to set your concealer, and then for the rest of my face, I am going to go ahead and just add a light layer of powder all over. So you can leave your face like this with just the cream and leave it very sort of natural looking, or you can go in and add a little bit of powder over the top for staying power. I mean like a powder contour for staying power. If you're like me and you don't like to touch up, sometimes layering products helps because I don't want to spend time in front of the mirror. Once I'm done with my makeup, I want to be done, and that's that. So I lied, I'm going to talk about brushes. I feel like for more natural looking contour, fluffier brushes work really well. If you want something more structured, a brush like this gives you more control as to where the product is going. Because I'm doing a more natural contour today, I'm going to go ahead and use the fluffy brush, and I'm just going to go right over the top. And again, make sure that the powder stays up here and doesn't migrate down. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is just add a little bit of that powder, or you can just use bronzer, right into my hairline. I just don't want it to look so off balance with the rest of my face. And then in those areas where color just doesn't like to stick, I'll go in there and bounce a little bit of color just so that it flows with everything else. So for my nose, I really don't want to add any powder, but I'm going to. So I'm going to use a brush like this. This is just a flat eyeshadow brush. So what I'm doing is taking yet another clean brush, and just going in here to make sure that my nose doesn't look too dark on the sides. I've met people in real life that contour their nose and it looks so obvious, and so I don't want it to look so obvious. So that's why I'm going in and I'm doing a little more blending. Another thing is I have freckles on my nose, which doesn't help when it comes to contour because sometimes it can look really uneven. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and add some powder highlight. I'm not going to add any to my forehead. I don't even want to add any to my nose because I feel like that's enough. So if you want to add some to the bridge of your nose, you can. I'm going to skip it. Then I'm going to take a brush here, and I'm just going to kind of blur that line between the highlight and the contour. See, right here I hate this, where this contour is. I have freckles here, and it's making my nose look muddy and uneven. If you have a lot of freckles on your nose, what I would suggest is using a full coverage foundation to sort of blank out your face and then contour. If you use a light coverage or a medium coverage and your freckles still come through, you can end up making your nose contour look uneven and a bit muddy, like what's happening to me right now. Alright, and then I am going to add a little bit of blush since I have this sitting out in front of me. You can play around with this and pair it any way you want or layer it any way you want. Contour, blush, highlight. Highlight is always on the top of your cheekbone. Blush comes in between. But I don't like taking my blush from here all the way back. So typically I just sort of bounce it here. So do whatever works best for you. One thing I did want to say, if you have a lot of wrinkles or enlarged pores in the area that you're highlighting, you may want to stick with a cream. Like I said earlier, creams just work better. The cream products melt into your skin, making it look more natural. So something you can do if your contour comes down a little bit low, you can either use like your sponge with a little bit of foundation and just kind of go along the edge to straighten it out, or you can use a little bit of powder. So if you feel like your contour isn't as straight as you would like it, you can go in with a little bit of powder to just sharpen it up a bit. And then to avoid any harsh lines, you can go back in with your contour brush and soften it up a bit. Alright you guys, so that is it for my video today. Emily, thank you so much for requesting and for being patient. I really do appreciate it. Doing this video was a little difficult for me because there are literally thousands of highlight and contour videos, and every makeup tutorial that you watch includes highlighting and contouring, and I feel like it's just a bit redundant. But I do realize that everyone has their own ideas on the process and their opinions, so this is just kind of like my opinions and things that I've learned along the way in doing makeup and working at MAC. So anyway, I hope somebody finds it helpful. But that's it, I'm going to go. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Have a great day, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye.